Coming up in this episode.
I remember I got to the third floor of this block and there was one more staircase and I just thought, I can't be bothered anyway. I went up there and I knocked on the door and this big guy was sitting there and didn't even look up. And he said, "What do you want?" And I said, "Look, I've got my own business. I'm young. I'm desperate. I need a chance."
The Logistics Collective podcast is a series focused on the logistics industry, where there are many incredible stories to be told. We'll be speaking with those who've worked and are working within the industry today. What have been their experiences, good and bad, since joining, and would they recommend a career in the industry to others? Here's your host, Malcolm Pope.
Welcome to the 5th episode of Logistics Collective, the podcast. And this is a slight departure from our previous podcasts in that I'm doing something for the first time. I'm actually interviewing somebody that I respect a great deal as a client. I had to finish that quickly because I've respected everybody that I've interviewed so far. This is somebody that has built and led a business from small beginnings, moving furniture, all the way through to a bit of an e-commerce powerhouse. Has been doing it for a number of decades, an exceptionally professional, but most of all, decent, nice guy that has really created something that I think is a little bit different and interesting as a business. So, with all of that aside, I would like to say and introduce you to Gary Rees, who is founder and managing director of Synergy Retail Support. Good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning, Malcolm. I'm well, thank you.
So, I'm going to ask you a first question. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, very good question. I think that it would be that when I manifest something in my mind, more often than not, it will come to fruition.
Well, you've not done too bad. You know, you've created a multi-million turnover business on the basis of that. So.
No, but not always commercially, you know, in life for friends, for other countries, you know, I think that probably would be my superpower.
Okay. So I'm hearing a little bit of a Southern and a London accent, and I shan't hold that against you. So your early beginnings where were you born?
I was born in London.
Yeah.
Grew up in London. Spurs supporter, which I guess is important to get right out there.
Fair enough.
And we started the business actually based in North London. But for the last 16, 17 years, we've been based in Northampton, which is a perfect location for our business.
Okay. And so taking you back when you were a kid running around London, saying up the Spurs and all of that, what was your dream job that you maybe wanted when you were a kid?
I would say I always wanted to do something creative, like advertising, actually. Was really what I was interested in, sort of formation of ideas and campaigns. I'm just one of those people that have lots of ideas, but sort of limited execution through my own abilities. Through my team, we do execute, but independently, I think a lot of things, but find it hard to execute them on my own.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, we all need teams around us to make things happen.
We absolutely do.
So tell us a little bit more about what you do as a person and what you do as a business.
Well, as a person, I'm married. I have 4 children, quite old at uni and so on now. Keep fit, train hard, and try and eat well. Try and watch my kilos, and just generally keep in good shape. I'm turning 60 this year, so I'm still, you know, fighting the battle against age deterioration, but doing pretty well. And my general week is I'll be at our distribution center probably 3 days a week, 4 days a week. And then the other day or two, I'm either working from home or out visiting clients. Since COVID, this whole working from home has just become much easier and very much actually a more productive day for me.
So for the listener, Gary doesn't look any of his 60 years at all. I'd take a guess at early 40s. So, you know, the hard work is doing him an awful lot of good. So what was your first job?
Actually, I left school very young. I had a bit of a sort of mixed upbringing childhood, and I left school about 14 with no qualifications. But my actual first job after my paper rounds was working for an estate agent as a junior, which lasted about 4 weeks. Then I had one other job before I started on my own, which was a tremendous job, actually, at about 17 or 16, really. I got a job selling encyclopedias door to door. I mean, obviously, door-to-door selling doesn't even exist today as an industry, nor do encyclopedias, probably in paper form. And I realized that after about 6-8 weeks, they made me like a sales lead, and I had my own minibus, and about 10 people worked for me, and I was earning a lot of money. I mean, this was 45, give or take 40 years ago, and I was earning maybe £1,500 a week. I mean, it was an absolute fortune then. And I got burnt out after a year, but I actually realized that, whilst academically I didn't achieve anything, I was creative. I effectively could get on with people, and I was pretty good, I guess, at selling. And that was the sort of segue for me to sort of find a way to be independent, to work for myself. And my first job after the encyclopedias was working for a company that sold furniture. And then after about 3 months, I took over their van. And then did their distribution. I don't drive myself because I'm partially sighted, but I earned a van out of that job, and then gradually, built the business from there, and got a few jobs doing furniture and one doing fashion. And then literally, in those days, the whole of the West End, Great Portland Street, Margaret Street, Great Titchfield was all fashion houses. It's all digital now. And I just got cards printed and just knocked on doors and built the business up. And my biggest break actually was from selling encyclopedias. I always learned to be very thorough, and it was always the one house with the big dog or the gate you couldn't open. That was the opportunity. And I remember I got to the 3rd floor of this block, and there was one more staircase, and I just thought, I can't be bothered anyway. I went up there and I knocked on the door, and this big guy was sitting there and didn't even look up. And he said, "What do you want?" And I said, "Look, I've got my own business. I'm young, I'm desperate, I need a chance." And he was actually my first significant customer, and he was a customer of mine for about 25 years. So, that's how it all started.
I think there's something to be said for knocking on doors. I actually think these days, in terms of the digital information blizzard that we have around us, actually, I sort of sense sometimes the point of difference is that you do bother yourself and get out there and talk to people. I think that's important.
Definitely.
So what does working in this logistics and supply chain industry mean to you?
Well, it's an industry that I find very interesting. Especially the e-commerce space, because it's evolving every day. And I would say in my business, and myself particularly, we are students of the industry. This whole, I think very much is just understanding the whole ecosystem that supports e-commerce. All of the IT, all of the platforms, all of the channels, and what our customers really need to sort of flourish. And I personally find the constant evolution interesting, because there's always something new to learn and to try and be at the forefront of. And general 3PL, as it was, in the old day of warehouses and pallets and picking cases, was fundamental, and one of the channels we have to serve. Intellectually isn't particularly stimulating because it's quite simple and we can't add a great deal of value to that. But I think logistics is a very interesting field, and I find it very enjoyable. It allows me to have quite a lot of movement, meet a lot of people across lots of industries, and I find that quite stimulating.
So who's inspired you the most in your career?
I don't think I can't honestly think of one person that's really inspired me. I mean, look, I think I've met on my journey good people who have been very good influences on me and shown me the right way and sort of held a beacon up of good behavior and good practice and, you know, trying to do the right thing. I suppose as a businessman in the very early days, you know, Richard Branson was, and maybe that, you know, because he was at the beginning of the digital journey of people, I guess, marketing themselves, he was probably the first entrepreneur that really inspired me.
Okay. Well, I agree that. I mean, you look from one base idea, and he's certainly leveraged the hell out of the Virgin brand and done really very, very well at it. What do you wish you would have known at the start of your career that you now know? What advice would you have given to the young Gary?
I think that's quite simple but hard to do retrospectively, because what I didn't have was experience there. But I would say is to get sage counsel from an older person and someone who can really help you recruit and onboard the right team around you to really be able to recognize what your limitations are at that particular point in time and to fill those gaps in. I didn't do that, and, you know, consequently, you know, did make mistakes along the way. And I think I probably could have circumvented that route with better advice earlier on, or at least knowing to ask for it.
So thinking about that, I mean, everybody's career has low points and high points.
Yeah.
Could I explore what the high points are first? Because they're generally easier to talk about. But would you be willing to share perhaps some of the challenges, the most challenging things that you've faced as well?
Yeah. I mean, high points for me actually are every day now. Just in the sense of being independent, having created a nice small medium business where, you know, we have a really, really genuine, nice team spirit, nice atmosphere, good people on board. But what I love is that my customers attest to our service, and we actually give good service. And I'm proud of myself, proud of the team for that. And I find pleasure in that, really day after day. Obviously, you know, because I'm a commercial guy, I like winning new business. You know, that does give me satisfaction. I think the low points for me is in, you know, the last financial crash, you know, 13 years ago. We did struggle, you know, at one particular point in time. We were down to £70 in the bank. Literally, you know, there was a whole cascade of events that happened around us that put us in a very, very tough position. You know, we were stuck in a lease in a building in the wrong place, and we needed to manage to get up north. And all of our clients, i.e. the big retail giants that then were Arcadia and Debenhams and Tesco, started going direct, cutting out the manufacturers, and our business was manufacturers. And that was a very tough time. But I'm just one of those people. I never give up. And for me, as long as there's bubbles, there's hope. You know, it's as simple as that. And, you know, I forged on, and we found a massive warehouse in Northampton. And we made the landlord an offer, and the market was so desperate then, the landlord accepted the offer. I mean, today, you know, even at that time, we wouldn't have probably been a good enough covenant for that building, but we did get the building and we did move up there. And then, you know, the last almost, you know, 15 years, we've sort of grown the business and become an e-commerce fulfillment business, you know, predominantly.
I mean, I can attest to a number of things. So I'm continually fascinated by this industry and the people that I meet. And I have been so damn lucky to talk to some of the best of the best. And I care less in terms of whether they've gone to a university or not.
Yeah.
The view is that the industry is the best training in terms of people's minds that I could ever have thought of. But the one thing I'd say, what you said about having a good team, The key difference is that you are a great businessman, you're a great leader, and I visited you down in your site in Northampton, and you've got this unique thing, which is you understand every nook and cranny of your business. You are, in essence, at its heartbeat. You're continuously there, and you don't get that in some of the larger businesses. You just don't. And I think I see the passion for that you have for your customers, and all businesses have low points, but in terms of what you're achieving and what your ambition is for the future, I think that's fantastic.
Thank you.
So, thinking about the changing logistics industry, if we begin to think about going forward, because you've gone through one transition, which is, in terms of retailers going direct, and then you've morphed and adapted your business into e-commerce, and you do a huge amount of added value things. It's not just getting it to the customer. There's a huge amount of added value that you perform within your business. But thinking maybe over the next decade, what do you think the new challenges are going to be?
I think right now it's people and power. Power, I mean gas and electricity and the cost of. And people in terms of cost and availability. Post-Brexit, post-COVID, and with the expansion of e-commerce, finding and attracting talent is a big problem. And I think it's a problem that certainly directing a business like ours in the next year to try and be automated or as automated as possible. With inflation, inflation as it is and labor scarcity as it is, I think automation has to be as obvious as it is. And with the huge capex to get into that world, has to be done. I don't even think it's an option not to be as automated as possible now, if you want to stay in the game.
I think it's going to be a combination. I mean, I've been a logistics buyer for more years than I care to say. And, I can be the little procurement devil that some people don't like.
Yeah.
But reality is that the market determines what is right. And
correct.
Folks need to perhaps understand that there is growth, inflationary growth and pressure within the industry, and frankly, they're going to have to pay more. But the other side of it is that, I agree in terms of automation, but it needs to be agile automation. And
absolutely,
I've lived through automation in terms of the non-agile stuff. What is available now is far more interesting, and probably with a lower capital investment level than in times past. But I also think it's about how do we actually make this industry more interesting and more attractive to people that want to join.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a challenge. I mean, in so many areas of the 3PL infrastructure, there's shortages of good people, operational people, especially IT people. There's a massive shortage. Even someone that would have been just classed as a super user, if your audience, maybe you want a super user, for those that don't know, is really just a relatively junior IT person that's just interrogating the system, for example, an inventory controller. This is not a developer particularly, and are earning maybe £300-400 a day as a consultant. That's if you can even find them. Very, very, very tricky. And I think IT around logistics, if someone is that way inclined, is a tremendous opportunity to earn disproportionate to that skill level. But also finding operational people who are truly interested. And look, good operations is about having a creative mindset especially in a multi-user site as we are, to think about, to understand the best methodology and how you balance your labor across multiple clients with multiple sales channels and, varying cutoff times. But there certainly are a lot of opportunities in logistics today.
What are your ambitions for the future? I mean, you've kindly declared your age and you don't look it, and I've said that already.
Yeah.
Is it a sense of, you're slowing down and you're deciding, okay, I want to stop? Or do you have plans in the future? What are your plans in terms of your business?
I'm certainly not slowing down. I think I'm probably speeding up. Our plans are within the very near horizon is to take on board PE investment and to grow the business. We're endeavouring early in the new year to take a brand new facility in Northampton, within a year put in automation and potentially, areas of buy and build of the business. And I think for the next, 3, 4, 5 years, that's really, really what I would like to do. My dream, Malcolm, is to have a highly automated e-commerce facility. It still gives our customers flexibility to use branded packaging materials as well, which is a challenge with automation. But, going back to your first question of, manifesting things that, you dream of, think of. I've spent enough time on YouTube looking at all this amazing stuff, and I actually want to go into the warehouse and be able to touch it and smell it and feel it. That's our dream, really, right now.
I mean, it's interesting to say, well, okay, the jobs of the future within logistics.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a fantastic, hardworking team, and there are a lot of people that work exceptionally hard within the industry. But the jobs of the future are all going to be about automation and tech, and really that sort of innovation piece. So it's going to be a real change in terms of the brain power and the sort of people that are actually working in it. In addition to, we're always going to need to have some folks that are, putting hard work, physically into doing the task. You can't automate everything at this stage.
No, absolutely not. I mean, other areas that are going to really have to be covered by companies like us and really better than we're currently doing is D&I, diversity and inclusion. So from a sort of people perspective, this kind of whole D&I area it's a massive area, and everyone needs to run fully inclusive businesses for everyone, where everyone can just be themselves. So that is one area where we are going to have to build out further. And I think experts in that area, in logistics, I think is very important. I think logistics is quite behind on that. And I think another area is experts around sustainability working within clients. An area where we had a 360 and we were really quite good. An area we want to be better, but where an area in the future that our clients are going to hold us to much more exacting standards, and we're going to have to know what we do. And when we become automated, we're going to have to know what the impact of that is compared to doing something manually. So I think that is another area where people, if there's young grads that want to specialize, I think that is definitely an opportunity area.
I mean, with respect to diversity and inclusion, it's just good business practice, because if you don't have that, what you actually get is that you reduce the gene pool that you're actually pulling from. And to my mind, it matters not in terms of race, religion, sexuality, gender identity. Don't care. I absolutely do not care. I actually care about whether or not a person is honest, kind, truthful, and hardworking, and they're going to be happy working. That for me is the key. Yeah,
look, absolutely. And I share exactly the same view, but it's getting that view shared amongst our 640 people, where, we have a lot of Eastern Europeans, and the different religions. Half the countries have been at war with each other at different times. It's just trying to cascade down that spirit of inclusion, of belonging, and I think that is an area in logistics where, companies can do better from what I've seen, including us.
Yeah, and I think in all probability it can. What's motivating your team right now? What's the I don't know, the issue or the opportunity of the day that really is focusing you? and your team?
I think what motivates them is just the spirit of what we're doing. And I think the way that we work is, we succeed together, we fail together. And if one of us makes a mistake, does something wrong, it is what it is. No one's hung out to dry. We don't work that way. So I think people can be kind of fairly free in the way that they work and think. I think the team really get great pleasure from our customers when, they speak well of us. We get nice references. We get thank yous. That motivates them greatly. And I think they like working for our company. I don't know, in some ways, I think we're outliers a little bit. In logistics, we're sort of a small, I don't know, maybe a medium, I don't even know how you quantify it, but a medium sort of 3PL. But I think we are different. The work and services we offer our clients is different. I think the way we work, everyone's just got a sense that we're outliers a bit. Not meaning we're anything special, just meaning we're different and we're a bit of a band of brothers. And, we all...
What I'd say to you on that, Gary, is that what you're doing is, and what you've built is what an awful lot of the very, very large 3PLs are paying a huge amount of money to actually buy and put into their businesses.
Yeah.
So it might feel it's an outlier, and I never like disagreeing with you, but what I actually say is you're actually not an outlier. You're now actually what the core of the industry is about, because it's a changing market.
Yeah, definitely. I think briefly in our business, I think in good business, a successful business, I think it's just the spirit of the business, the pulse of the business. It's kind of intangible, but I believe that makes us a successful business and as a nicer place to work as possible. And I think in our little business, I think we've got a good spirit.
And you've also got an impressive client list as well.
We do.
So, don't hide your light too far under a bushel.
Yeah. No, we do.
You're dealing with some of the biggest, the biggest and the best there. So what are you most proud of?
Really, I don't know, Malcolm. It's a good question. I'm actually not a materialistic type person. I kind of view money as a barometer of success, that you've done well, but it's just a measure. I'm just proud of what I've created. And, sometimes I just step back and I look at it and, I hear my guys with clients and on teams and in meetings, and I'm more proud of them and the ones that I've really brought on and nurtured and developed. And, and I get more pride from them, like my children, really. And I've got 4 children. I'm very proud of them. And I think that gives me the greatest pleasure. I'm personally not that proud of anything I've done myself. I'm just thankful that I've managed to be independent pretty much my whole working career and not work for anyone else.
I think humility is one of the best qualities of any entrepreneur, and I think it keeps you honest because it's always saying, well, okay, I'm always thinking forward in terms of what is the best thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have fun in your business? Is it something that's you still have a burn for?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we don't often, kind of belly laugh to the point where you're going to, what to yourself, but we do on occasion. But we do have fun, and we have a great Thursday leadership meeting where we get food in every Thursday, and we meet from 12 till 2, and there's about 10 of us in that. And that's a good meeting. It's fun. We all eat together. Every week it flushes out new things to work on. And I think that actually is almost a highlight of the week for a lot of us, because it actually blocks out time for us to be together, do something constructive. And Yeah, no, that's it's a very pressured environment, and our clients want a lot from us, and we're in a very hard business with, we're fighting problems on, in multiple areas. But and when it's that busy, our place is often like A&E on a Saturday night. It's a high volume operation. But there are elements of fun, there are elements of kindness in the day, which I find, satisfying.
So, question. Taking Gary back to the early days, selling your encyclopedias door to door, and you then obviously got opportunities, and we've all got, if you like, individual choices that we make, and they lead us down certain paths. And when you're younger, the opportunity is genuinely as close to infinite as it's ever going to be. But if I could perhaps reset with you, was there another occupation other than your own that you would have liked to have tried?
I think something marketing, advertising. I think we touched on that in the beginning. I believe that's an area where I probably would have enjoyed. I would have loved to have been a sportsman if I was good enough, but that's a dream. It's factual that I wasn't. But
what sport would it have been in?
I was actually a swimmer when I was young, but over the years I've done Ironman, triathlon, and many marathons, and all of that type of stuff. And I would have loved to have been I was decent level, but I would love to have been a high level. But I guess that's the case for everyone who participates in sport. But and I think if it paid the bills, back in the early days, I would love to have been a coach or a kind of personal trainer type role. But I don't think that would have probably paid the bills as I needed then. And I think maybe more in my twilight years, I would really love to go back to, coaching and mentoring, young people or any people really. I think that's something I would be good at. I think it would give me a lot of pleasure. And I think maybe for some people, I could be that influential person that maybe I didn't have or didn't look for, back when I started.
So it leads me on to my next question, which is, if you could start a business tomorrow, what would that business be?
That's a really hard question, Malcolm. I don't really have a winning idea of what I would start. I think it's very, very hard to start now. Very hard to come up with something creative. I meet probably 15 startups a week, approach us, and in so many varying fields, and I don't often come across one and think, wow, that's incredible, that's an absolute winning idea. I think the market is very saturated. It's not to say that anyone shouldn't have a dream and follow it. They absolutely should. But I'm not sure if I started and had to do something different to logistics, what I would start today. I guess if I genuinely was starting today, I think it would probably be some kind of life coaching, business coaching, mentoring, executive, coaching business, because it's just what I know and what I can do. And I think with my network, I probably could get busy enough doing it. Some type of consultancy. I mean, for sure, I couldn't do the type of consultancy that you do because I'm not detail and process orientated. As an independent, I couldn't survive. But I think from a creative perspective or working adjunct someone like yourself, I probably would add value.
For sure, in terms of that. I think what is quite interesting, I mean, if I was looking and saying, well, where do I think the logistics industry should invest its time in? What should be the next new thing? I think we need to create incubators and accelerators for new businesses, because a lot of the time in the past, And retailers do some wonderful work, and they have a place, and high street retail still has a place. But now there is a way to circumvent that and go direct to consumer. And if I was looking at the logistics industry now, that's what I would do. I would actually develop incubator platforms to help people to actually get to market. That's what I would see. But then I see dozens of things, and I love what you said about sustainability before, because I think we've got to change a lot of our systems. But that's for another day. So look, in the last few minutes of this interview, I'd really like to focus on giving advice to people that might be considering a career in logistics or supply chain. So do you think it's a good idea for people to consider logistics and supply chain as a top 3 career choice?
Yeah, I do. I think it's a very interesting career. I think there's so many different facets of logistics and supply chain. I mean, certainly speaking from downstream, i.e. when products landed in the UK, which is all I can speak to, there's jobs around data, there's jobs around inventory, there's jobs around IT, around operation, finance, automation, facilities. That there are so many areas, and because there's scarcity of good talent, I believe that potential compensation packages are maybe even disproportionately high to other businesses. And I think logistics is I think it's a safe business. If someone's looking for a career, things are always going to move. They always need to move. People are going to buy whatever it is, wherever it's from. I mean, logistics is here. So I believe actually it's a good industry. And I think, you can work, if you like, client side. You can work in the 3PL side. You can work in logistics, for example, for an automation business. Logistics doesn't necessarily mean working in 3PL. It's all of the services and infrastructures and ecosystems that, feed into the process of moving things. So I think it's a great industry.
And I'd certainly support you in that. I feel it's like joining a family. It's one of the most connected, industry villages that are out there. It is very, very supportive, or at least that's my view of it. And I think it acquits itself well in that regard. But here you go. Imagine meeting young Gary on the streets of London back in the day, and there's the new modern version of you out there. And they're saying, really, well, what advice would you give to that young version of you? And how, if there was a passion for something, for a role in logistics and supply chain, how would they find out more?
Well, I think if you've got a particular passion, I think if your passion is IT, for example, if your passion is operations or people, or I would say sit down with a spreadsheet. What are the areas? What is the area you're most interested in? In your gut, what do you think? Maybe have a second choice. Then I would potentially look on job boards if money is important as it is to people. Certain types of jobs may require a similar skill input, but one particular area might be much better paid. I would read. I'd spend a good bit of time on LinkedIn, join all the groups, 3PL and logistics, supply chain logistics. There's tens of groups. I'd spend a month just reading stuff. Just read as much as you can, looking on, company websites. Find out your field of expertise or of interest, rather. And I think maybe if you're a grad, try and get into a 3PL. And, if you're not a grad, that's absolutely fine. Maybe speculatively, email 10 CEOs through LinkedIn like me and ask for a chance. Tell them what you're interested in. Say, I'll come and work for a month. Can you put me in 4 different departments so I can get a feel? Just make contact. It's very easy to contact people nowadays and talk to them. And I think if you show initiative and you contact people in the right way with good energy, good spirit, humility, I think people will give anyone a chance.
Well, I think both of us have had experience of being given chances in our career, and I think as
every day,
I think as an industry, it is incredibly good at giving people a chance. And those of us that have received chances, we definitely have to grant them as well.
Yeah.
So look, Gary, thank you ever so much in terms of giving up what I know the time that you have for what I know is a really, really busy day.
Pleasure.
I've been I continue to be fascinated in terms of the progress that you have made, and I know that you're going to make as a business. And
thank you
for giving up so much of your time. For those that are listening, please follow the Logistics Collective, and we'll give you updates as to when new interviews are coming out. And I've got a list of luminaries that, in addition to Gary, I'm not going to dim his light at all, but I've got a list of luminaries that I'm going to be speaking to over the next few weeks and months. And if you find this interesting, please like and follow us, and we'll give you an update when the next one is out. So, Gary, thank you so much for your time again, and I wish you all the very best.
Malcolm, thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And if anyone out there wants half an hour of my time to talk logistics, please reach out through Malcolm.
That's a really good offer. I'd advise anybody that's out there that wants to have a chat with Gary to have it. He's got a lot to say that's good. So thanks. All the best.
Thanks.
You can get in contact by email, podcast@logisticscollective.com, or leave a voice message on our website, logisticscollective.com. The podcast is a production by Le Guru.